Hello and welcome to the Guitarist Reviews, where today we're going to be looking at Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. Remember how last time I said that the third movie wasn't so good? Well, if that movie was the franchise drinking too much soda and going off its meds, then this movie is the one where it started to determinedly wet itself all over the fans of the original books, the old movies, and fans of good movies in general. So the movie starts out looking more like Batman with the Warner Brothers logo looming towards us as some taut strings play. I'm not even joking, this is basically the opening to Batman. We see a snake in a graveyard where one of the statues actually has a skeleton carved into it for some insane reason, and the title flies at us. Cut to a mansion, an old man who lives near it preparing his tea. He sees the light on and goes to investigate, where it turns out that Voldemort is there, plotting something with Doctor Who. Yeah, I'm kind of running low on jokes, so whenever he shows up, I'm just going to make something related to Doctor Who. Sorry. Voldemort kills the old man, and Harry wakes up already in the burrow with the looming face of Ms. Watson above him. She wakes Ron up, and now we cut to the clan Weasley off to the World Cup. We're introduced to Cedric Diggory, about whom I refuse to make Twilight jokes, and we see the port key, which transports them via time vortex to the right location. And this really is it when you think about it. No more Hogwarts Quidditch. This is like going from watching your 11-year-old niece playing five-a-side football to being there at the final of the 1966 World Cup. And, given the amount of crucial plot information that got bestowed during this scene in the book, you just know that we're in for a real...
No one like Crumb.
Are you kidding me? We're less than 5 minutes in, and already this movie has tripped and brained itself on the hospital floor. Anyway, Death Eaters attack, a relief after the truly atrocious dialogue they were making Ron say, and everyone runs for it. Harry gets separated from the group and gets to witness a mysterious man in a long coat speaking in a strange language and making lights appear in the sky with a stick-like object. We learn that the mark in the sky is Voldemort's mark and meet Barty Crouch Sr., and when I say we learn, I mean clumsy exposition. Anyway, we're back on the Hogwarts Express and we meet Cho Chang, who really doesn't feature much in either of the two films where she is supposed to be heavily involved. But whatever. You know, I didn't know that eyebrows could move independently of each other. Hope we don't see too much of that kind of acting throughout the film. Without explanation or reason, the first thing we see back at Hogwarts is the arrival of the other schools, which actually look quite cool. That night, Dumbledore explains about the Triwizard Tournament and the Goblet of Fire is introduced, along with the girls from Beauxbatons.
Madame Maxime.
Subtle. The ridiculously over-the-top Durmstrangians. Where is that music even coming from? Did they bring a string quartet and drums with them? And Mad-Eye Moody. We get some extremely blatant and extremely pointless faux shadowing about Karkaroff, and then we see a lesson with Moody. I hate this scene, but instead of it being for several reasons, it's because of this.
Stop it! Can't you see it's bothering him?
Seriously, is she constantly on the verge of tears? Why is she about to start crying? It makes the rest of the scene, which is actually quite awesome, really cringeworthy to watch. Anyway, we get some foreshadowing about Neville, a look at the curses and what they do, and it's back to the Great Hall where Fred and George have decided to cross Dumbledore's age line. Naturally they fail, and we get some more foreshadowing about Ms. Watson's later romantic choices. Now, I don't like this scene for another reason as well, because it implies that the Goblet realises that they're too young, as opposed to it all being Dumbledore's age line, as in the books. Whatever. The next night, the champions all get chosen, and surprise, surprise, Harry's name ends up in the goblet as well. Once he's established that he didn't do it, he goes back to the dorm where Ron isn't talking to him with a hilariously delayed
Piss off.
We get a sneak peek of the pensieve and find out that the teachers are going to help him along, which I'm fairly certain is called cheating in most established circles, but whatever. Next morning comes Miranda Richardson as Rita Skeeter. I mean, actually she's another nice example of being over the top in a good way, the same as Lockhart and Snape. The little scene between her and Harry in the broom cupboard is perfectly translated from the books, really. Harry gets a message to meet Sirius in the common room later, which he does, learning that Karkaroff used to be a Death Eater. The next day, we get one of the more well-known scenes from the movie, which you can probably guess my opinion of.
Or by Parvati that Hagrid's looking for you.
Is that right? Well, what?
Please don't ask me to say it again. Hagrid's looking for you.
Well, you can tell Ronald.
I'm not an owl!
Later that night, Harry meets Hagrid and follows him into the woods, where we learn several things. Hagrid likes Mademoiselle Maxime. Karkaroff and Maxime both know about the first task, and oh yeah, the first task is to get past dragons. The next day, Harry tells Cedric but gets caught out by Moody, who gives him some advice about getting past the dragons. This is also where we get to see Malfoy, the amazing dancing ferret. Earlier than the books perhaps, but still just as hilarious. Finally, the day of the first challenge arrives, with Fred and George taking bets on who's going to die. I love that. We have a nice pointless scene with Ms. Watson, which does nothing but encourage the Harmonians, who really should never be encouraged. I do think that the filmmakers all throughout this actually had a bias towards Harry and Hermione, which makes things really annoying for people who actually like the Hermione Ron from the book. Anyway, the setup for this is all quite nice, and it does do well to illustrate the tension that Harry must have been feeling. Then it all gets annoying and overdrawn as Harry has a long, drawn-out fly-off against the dragon. What is it with these movies and chase scenes? There wasn't like one per book, so why do they suddenly become once per movie? Whatever, Harry wins, of course, and he and Ron finally make up, leading to them having lots of long, lingering looks between each other. Come to think of it, I think the filmmakers actually supported Ron Harry more than Ron Hermione. Anyway, the Yule Ball is approaching fast, and Harry needs a date. This does lead to some of the funnier scenes of the film, including Ron in his dress robes and Ron in his dance with McGonagall. Ron seems to be the butt monkey a lot in these films. Again, I like Ron in the original. He does have some silly things happen to him, but not to this extent. I mean, the movies have started feeling less like Harry Potter as part of a trio, more like Harry Potter, Ms. Watson, and their bumbling sidekick Ronnie. Oh, whatever. You know, Ron, when even Hagrid can get a date, you might want to rethink your life. Also, Crumb, you do know that you're 18 and Ms. Watson is 14, you sick, hepaphilic bastard. Whatever. Cho is already taken, Ron yells at Fleur and we get another hilarious scene and Harry gets proactive. Man, twins, lucky bastard. And they're even his age, Crumb.
Hey!
Anyway, stupid dance scene with a band apparently able to use electrical instruments on the grounds of Hogwarts. What really annoys me is the supposed revelation that Hermione has been beautiful all along. See, in the book it makes sense, whereas here it's, as we've been established, not Hermione, but it's Ms. Watson, who at this time was doing modelling work. If you try to do a she cleans up nicely storyline, then you at least have to make some effort to not make her look, well, I suppose beautiful is the word that others would use, but come on. Sandra Bullock in Miss Congeniality. Scruffy, unkempt, obviously pretty underneath, but it's not immediately obvious. Everything, her posture, her speech, the way she walks, the way she eats, everything tells you about her tomboyishness. Hermione in the books is hunched from carrying books all day. She doesn't care about her hair and she doesn't wear makeup. Whereas Watson in the movies is none of the above. So the only difference here is that she's wearing a different dress. This is not difficult. Anyway, Harry has another dream about the graveyard and we're into researching the second task. But first we get some more histrionics from Ms. Watson's eyebrows. I have to say, we also here have the most disturbing revelation about the relationship between the adult and the 14-year-old student. And no, I'm not letting this go. Back to the eyebrows. It's like a miniature Jeremy Irons. I know that your pals offer attention. are as wet as a warthog's backside. But thick as you are, pay attention. My words are a matter of pride. It's clear from your vagrant expressions, the lights are not all on the stairs. But we're talking kings and successions. Even you can't be caught unawares. So prepare for the chance of a lifetime. Be prepared for sensational news. A shining new era is tiptoeing nearer.
And where do we begin?
Just listen to teacher. I know it sounds sordid, but you'll be rewarded when at last I am given my dues. And injustice deliciously squared. Be prepared.
It's great that we'll soon be connected with a king who'll be all time adored.
Of course, quid pro quo, you're expected to take certain duties on board. The future is littered with prizes, and though I'm the main addressee, the point that I must emphasize is you'll get a sniff without me! So prepare for the coup of the century. Be prepared for the murkiest scam. Meticulous planning, tenacity spanning, decades of denial is simply